We're talking about Bonnie Blue today.
I'm excited.
Which is really interesting. This is a really interesting topic. We're going to do our best to give our clinical ideas and perspective, maybe some personal ones too. I mean, we're also human beings here. As sex therapists, what are our thoughts about Bonnie Blue? If that is interesting to you, then stick around. Welcome to the Pleasure Program. My name is Holly.
I'm Victoria.
We are two licensed therapists specializing in sex therapy, here to share our knowledge and answer your questions around all things related to a healthy and pleasurable sex life.
So a few months ago, we received a comment from a viewer asking us to explore a topic, and I'll read it for you. It says, "Loving this great channel and hope you build to the audience you deserve. Your short features on various aspects of sexuality are well considered and appreciated. I'd be genuinely interested to hear your takes on a deliberately controversial sex worker celebrity who I've seen in my feed a few times recently, Bonnie Blue. An interesting case of where sex positivity, sex work, informed consent, and, in the opinions of some, predatory behavior intersect, and where I think your approach could add meaning to the somewhat murky online discourse. Keep up the great work." Let's start with, who is Bonnie Blue? Bonnie Blue is currently a 26-year-old woman from the UK. When she started getting popular, that was about a year ago, 25 years old, she started her career as a recruiter and ended up getting into OnlyFans. So she's known for having sex with barely legal men, stating that she enjoys 18-year-olds. She's known for breaking a record of sleeping with 1,000 men in 12 hours. She has sex with men for free, but she records it and then posts it to her OnlyFans for content.
The way I recharge and refresh is by going for the barely legal 18-year-olds because they're the freshest. So I'm heading to Cancun to go and find some fresh 18-year-olds.
Something that I found kind of interesting and funny, obviously we're Americans, but I spent a lot of time watching interviews with Bonnie and her own content that she posts on social media to learn more about her. And they like to use the term bonking for like having sex. So I feel like we should adopt that term for the sake of this video. Okay. We're talking about a lot of bonking. Yeah. And Bonnie's bonking. Bonking Bonnie. That should be the title of this video. She's known for, I think most famously, going to something called Freshers.
So I started going to events like Freshers, Spring Break, and there's one in Australia called Schoolies, which is a high volume of sort of 18-year-old people in, I guess a small time frame. So I was like, if I could go and sleep with as many people as I could, not only do I educate those I sleep with, but also I get a video that can educate the wider audience. And obviously I can monetize off that.
She will post on the internet, I'm going to be at this university or at this area where she knows there's going to be partying and all the freshmen are going to be there. And we'll say something like, let me pleasure you for free.
So it's when I sleep with students or barely legal, as I've said and the media have said, it shows me discussing consent with them. It shows me saying to them, this is what I enjoy, this is what I don't enjoy. And it also gives them an opportunity to tell me what they like. And sort of, I guess, use me as a guinea pig. Trial what you like and what you want to do. So when you go to the next person, you know exactly how to pleasure them and, how to receive pleasure as well.
I'm going to be honest, and I think that it's concerning. On the one hand, I suppose I'll start with a pro, in that it seems that her intention is to help provide psychoeducation about sex hands-on. And so I guess I can appreciate that she is trying to help in some sort of capacity. The fact that she is targeting 18-year-olds, I find concerning. I mean, at 26, your brain is fully developed. At 18, your brain is not fully developed. We're on two different playing fields here. And she didn't discuss it in this short, but other times she's discussed specifically seeking out virgins. And it just feels like an 18-year-old virgin is a very vulnerable population. And yes, she's not charging them, but is it exploitation to be like taking their vulnerability or maybe their anxiety and then profiting off of it on the internet?
You're seeing sort of one of the arguments here that this is exploitative. Is that the right word?
Exploitative?
Exploited? Oh gosh. Well, it's there's one
Yeah.
argument that her behavior is predatory in a sense, that, and also like, what if this was a man perusing through a university saying, I'm going to have sex with 1,000 girls? I mean, it's almost funny to think of that. That wouldn't be really a reality that I could fathom.
Right.
Right? Which is interesting when you think about gender. It's interesting
Yeah.
to think about how she can post online, let me pleasure you. And if a 26-year-old man posted that, would a whole neighborhood full of college student girls line up to have sex with him? No. So it's kind of interesting. It just says something right there. Just that alone says something about how we view sex, maybe some of the gender differences, and who would feel safe,
Exactly.
you know, or comfortable enough to experience something like that.
Right.
Yeah, so it's interesting to think about, and there's a double standard here, right? Because if a man were doing that, I think a lot of people would see that as concerning and alarming and predatory. And this is a woman demonstrating this same behavior. I want to talk about the fact that, you know, you're saying, well, on the one hand, maybe a positive here is she's trying to be helpful or educate. And I gotta say, I watched a lot of her video, like I've had too much Bonnie Blue, okay? And like the last 72 hours, I have watched way too much Bonnie Blue. And really trying to dive in to like, what is, you know, from what I gather, what's her real motivation intention here?
Yeah.
I don't think education, if she really wanted to make education her reason for doing this, she's falling short for sure. First of all, in all of her interviews, I've never heard her reference clitoris once. Her stance is that she is helping these young men understand how to pleasure a woman or how to be pleasured themselves. And when she gives examples of that, the only examples she's given is her asking them to faster, slower, you know, this pace, that pace, this, you know, sort of asking them more about like what they're wanting or enjoying. She does say that she's been asked by some of them like what she would like and how she would like to be pleasured, but never once does she ever mention. She talks a lot about fellatio, and not once have I heard her say anything about cunnilingus, which is oral on a vulva. If you're wondering, fellatio is oral on a penis. So
That's super interesting.
Isn't it? So if you're really looking to educate, you're very male focused. You know, as we would probably expect to see in a sex worker in the porn industry. She has been very clear. Her target audience is men.
Yeah.
Target audience. So she's really not looking, you know, so perhaps maybe that's why she's so focused on male pleasure, and that's what she's selling, right? That's the product, male pleasure. So it's very one-sided. If we're really saying we want to educate, we're not, you know, we're missing a lot here. And we're really educating about very specific sex acts. There isn't any education, right?
Yeah.
There's really no education around how do you maintain a long-term sexual relationship with a romantic partner.
Right.
There's nothing about that. What about
responsive desire?
Responsive desire, spontaneous desire. Or what if there's erectile dysfunction?
Yeah.
What if there's, you know, problems with arousal or anxiety? When you think about sex education, I mean, what she is saying she's providing in terms of education is very, very limited and very narrow. So it sounds really nice. It's a nice thing to hear. Like, I just want to educate.
Yeah.
But you're really not doing a great job, Bonnie. I don't think you're doing a great job.
Is there follow through? Right.
Right. Like, what does that mean, really? Other than, do you want faster or slower? Right.
And is the education actually factual in terms of, like, I was thinking about one of her podcasts where she ends up saying that the sex that she actually enjoys with a partner that she doesn't video, She wants to be a pillow princess. She wants to be fully pleasured.
I would imagine that.
But she's not
all
doing
the work
that.
she's doing, all the
Right.
work she's doing with all these men for her content and for her income is she wants almost like the polar opposite in her personal life, which could you blame her? Right? Like, let me lay down.
Right.
And you pleasure me. But that does say something about maybe the polarity of it, right?
Right. If you're not videoing that at all, then you're just educating one side of pleasure, making it seem like women are just always wanting to go above and beyond and do some extreme activities.
Let's talk about Bonnie Blue, the businesswoman. Because I find this to be the most interesting. And like diving into where her success really comes from.
Well, she's done a great job at narrowing down her target audience, right? She made it very clear that it is men. And in order to target that audience, she personifies a common male fantasy, right? A woman who, she can't get enough sex and she gets aroused super easily, right? Can orgasm super easily, basically has very few or no sexual limits. She talks about men being deserving of pleasure, wanting to give them pleasure, and women are just lazy.
And she references middle-aged women a lot, but she's like, women have gotten lazy, and all of her haters are middle-aged women. Yes.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And I just think, like, it's not like they don't love their wives or their kids. They need like a de-stress, and I'm able to offer that. There's no connection. I'm not asking for gifts. I'm not even asking for money. You could come to me, drain your balls, and then go back to your wife and think, you know
I love
what?
the way you put it, drain your balls.
Yeah, and then you go back and think, right, I'm going to empty that dishwasher. I'm going to, read the kids' bedtime story because you've had that de-stress. So, and it's better than going to the pub. And they get the video afterwards, so they can watch it. The wife's gone to sleep, nip off to the toilet, get back into bed.
Just a reminder, girls, that if your husband is the main actor in the bedroom, there's two reasons. Either one, maybe he doesn't find you attractive anymore, or two, I've replaced that job for you.
Which is targeting the men that do struggle with relationships with women or struggle in their specific relationship that they're in. Like, yeah, she has been lazy.
Yeah, sustaining that like sexual desire when you've been married for a long time, or you've got kids, or you've reached middle age, to be like, like this would be an obvious fantasy. A woman who just wants to pleasure you, can't get enough.
Just an outlet, happy to be an orifice.
Yeah, she really is, because that's exactly what she's doing. She's happy just to be a sexual outlet for these men. And whether it's taking a 18-year-old's virginity, she'll literally say, like, I want to see the husbands and the sons. I mean, the unspoken thing here is like, I want your husbands, talking to women. I want your sons. Dads, that's the other one. I want to see the dads. So she's speaking to like these roles.
Yeah.
Saying, I want you to come to me, sort of like step away from your role in your normal life and come, let me be your fantasy. Let me be your escape. Let me pleasure you. So she's speaking a language here that I think really does entice a lot of men. I think it's actually quite clever. And I think it's part of why she's so successful. She sees a need. She sees a struggle in these certain roles that men have. And she's saying, I'm your...
Sorry.
Which kitty is this?
This is still Frank.
Frank!
Come get some love so you can not meow while we're on the,
oh my goodness.
while we're on the show.
She's sending a message that a lot of men would like to hear, and it's catching their attention. Of course.
Absolutely. And she is plowing over the competition.
Plowing over the competition.
by having rage bait. She's trying to be as extreme as possible, right? Sleeping with 1,000 men in so many hours, sleeping with young men, sleeping with fathers and their sons at the same time. Like, she's just doing whatever she can to like elicit some rage bait, and that gets her views, right? That which gets her money.
Hey girlfriends, just a reminder that when your husband's out cheating on you, he's doing a lot of physical activity. So it's probably best to go to the gym, have a glow up, and maybe you can start to prevent it.
Right. So, and if you don't know what rage bait is, which I didn't, I'm still learning about the internet. It's when you post something that is supposed to provoke anger or a very strong emotional reaction. It gets a lot of views because it's so controversial, a lot of comments. So all the hateful comments and hateful views is actually, promoting her content and earning her money. So the more shocking you are, the more, right, which 1,000 men in 12 hours, shocking, jaw-dropping.
People end up going on the internet and trying to do the math of like, that's one man every like 40 seconds or whatever. I'm not going to do the math, right? Like,
we should do the math. How many seconds? Hang on.
But that's one man at a time, right? Like,
she was doing groups. So we know she sees like groups of men at a time because the basic math here, like, okay, she actually slept with 1,057 every 40 seconds.
Yeah.
So how much educating? This really was just a world record, right? Like, this isn't really about educating. So here's the thing I want to say. This is my opinion, and I'm not one. Honestly, I'm one to like believe people for the most part. If they tell me their thoughts, their feelings, their experience, I tend to believe them. I have a hard time believing Bonnie Blue. I have a really hard time believing that she is having a great time, that this is pleasurable. A guy in one orifice or another every 40 seconds does not sound pleasurable.
For 12 hours, that's without a break, right?
Right, without a break, even without eating, drinking. So even if you schedule breaks in, that's even less.
Using the bathroom, like,
And nothing about that says anything about her pleasure. And yet she really puts on a good front, I think, in her interviews and in her social media content, that she is loving this, that this is something she finds pleasure and joy in. And she really talks about this as just being like, why is sex so taboo? Why are we still, being so rigid about sex? And it's like, let's just talk about the distinction between sex and sex work. Because this doesn't sound like sex to me. This sounds like work. I mean, she worked. Like, that sounds like a lot of work. Yeah. And something that is earning you money, something that you're marketing to a certain audience, and what grabs attention. So you're using material that is controversial and angry. There's a lot of people who do not like Bonnie Blue that are very much hating on her and very critical of her. So, that is just further increasing the conversation about her. It's, she talked about making $600,000, euros, somewhere, I'm not sure what the exchange is in the UK versus here, but a month. So she's very successful. She's earning a lot of money based on all of this. So is this really about sex, or is it, sex work and a business?
Right, which I think we should be more clear about, right? Like, if she wants to do this, like, I support autonomy. As long as you're not harming other people, which when we talk about, like, the vulnerable population of 18-year-olds, that's where it gets a little muddy, in my opinion. But if you're not harming other people, you do you, but, like, let's call a spade and talk about it being work and not just, like, I'm teaching about pleasurable sex.
It's really not about her pleasure. That's not, if it was, we'd have probably a different audience here.
Yeah, for sure.
There'd be a different conversation happening if she was like, I'm going to have all the 18-year-olds line up and I'm going to teach them about cunnilingus and I'm going to walk them through it and I'm going to teach them how to pleasure a woman, or not even just a woman, this woman, because what is pleasurable for one person is not necessarily going to be the same for somebody else. So the most she could teach is, here's how you pleasure me, or here's how I've learned to pleasure you in this 30-second time frame that we've got. And there really isn't a lot of growth and learning. And so, you mentioned the harm of like 18-year-olds. What do you think the harm is that's being done?
Well, a few things. One, I think we've talked about how pornography in general doesn't teach accurately, and a lot of young people are learning from that. I consider 18-year-olds young, right? So them alone, I think maybe some of the misinformation or the miseducation that might be provided is harmful. And also, again, their brain not being fully developed. From my perspective, they may not see maybe some of the potential for some of the long-term consequences. She says she gets tested for STDs every 2 weeks. We know that sometimes you can get an STD and it not show up for months. So she could actively be spreading. I know she uses condoms. Condoms break. She's using, she engages in oral. I'm not sure if she uses condoms with oral for fellatio.
I'm not 100% sure, but she has talked about insisting that everyone wear a condom. So I would imagine that they're wearing a condom for oral as well.
Okay. But condoms break, things happen. And so
they fall off. She has talked about them falling off. And
they fall off. So STDs can still be spread. So an 18-year-old might be going into this, like, oh yeah, she's tested, we're good to go. Not realizing that there's still risk. They may not be educated on the risk of STDs and how they can not show up on a test for months at a time. So that's concerning. And then also, some of these 18-year-olds, if they're virgins and they're just nervous and they just want to learn and like this is an opportunity for them, they may not realize that like how harmful it could be to have their face on the internet, right? She's videoing these and she's putting it on the internet, and things don't really get taken off the internet, and they might make this impulsive choice, and it might really harm them 15 years from now and wish that they didn't, but they weren't in the right mindset.
Right, and the mindset of an 18-year-old, really thinking about the long-term consequences of something like that.
Yeah.
They're really not. I mean, I know I made a lot of dumb decisions at 18.
Yeah, everybody has.
And 19 and maybe 20. You're still figuring life out, and you've just become independent from your family, your parents. You're like, I mean, I think I still had my parents scheduling my doctor's appointments for me at like 18, right? So we're talking about, they're still quite young in their minds.
Yeah.
I will say she does provide ski masks for anyone who wants to cover their face.
I didn't know that. Interesting.
Even if, still they might go, oh, forget that, I don't want the ski mask, I'm just going to go for it, still not really maybe fully thinking through their decisions. But she does provide that. She does. I will say she's saying that she's recording conversations about consent and then posting that as part of her content. At least that's what it sounds like she's doing, which I can appreciate that. I can appreciate there being a conversation where, you're confirming someone's identity, their age, you're talking about consent, even if it's briefly. And,
but are you actually confirming their age? That's my other question. Is she getting IDs? Sorry.
She might be. I mean,
she might be.
I
hope so.
She has a whole team. And I want to talk about sex work because, sometimes sex work and sex positivity, these are two terms that I think get used to, especially in feminist conversations, people get a little heated if you start to challenge maybe some of that language or anything that might contradict, be opposed to sex work and supporting sex workers or anything that does not seem sex positive. And I just want to say these conversations are really nuanced. You can't just say sex work and then that encompasses so much. You really could have like 500 different conversations about that. Sure. At one point she's asked about, have you ever had a scary experience? And she talks about a group of men that she was having an encounter with, and she felt like they were treating her in a degrading way, calling her names. One kept trying to have sex with her without a condom, even though she kept insisting, and that they seemed very entitled. And she said, my security kind of laughed at one point, and I thought to myself,
I thought she said her security left.
Oh, left.
I think she said, left. No, I think she said left. I think she said, oh, these guys are good. And so the security guy left. So she didn't even have a security guy at that point. But I believe. I could be wrong.
You know what? That would make sense as to why that also felt scary for her. Because, just so everyone knows, I have the hardest time understanding British accents. I don't know what it is. I'm like, everyone sounds garbled and like it's all vowels to me. Like, I have such a hard time.
We still love you, UK, if you're watching.
If you're listening, we still want you here. I just have a hard time deciphering. So I thought she said that
Laugh.
security laughed. I thought, well, why is he laughing? That's rude. Okay, that would make sense. So, well, I was thinking to myself, imagine sex workers who don't have a team, don't have a screening process.
Exactly.
Don't have security around the corner or in the room, aren't recording this. I mean, I think the fact that you're being recorded would hopefully want you to be on your best behavior, because this is it's very vulnerable, not even just for these 18-year-olds we're talking about, but for the sex worker.
Yeah, I have concerns for her safety, 100%. Even if you have a security guard, she has a line of men waiting to sleep with her, right? Like, and she's talked about them fighting over orifices and things like that, and it's like, maybe you have one security guard. I hope you have more than that, just in case, just to protect you, right? Like, and I have concerns for her sexual health in terms of like, we don't know about STDs. Sometimes things happen. What about prolapse? Injury. What about tear? Exactly. If you're having sex with 1,000 men, that sounds like there could be some serious sexual health issues going on from that. So I worry about her. Is this like self-harm?
I worry. Right? Yeah, I worry about her. Well, what are you willing to do for the sake of money? You know, and I also, again, I don't believe her when she describes her experience with 1,000 men. She has said that it was a great time. Everybody was laughing through it. She never needed lube, and that she was not sore at all after. And what's interesting is that in a different interview, this was before the 1,000 men, she was asked what's the most men you've slept with in one night, and she said 37, and she talked about how incredibly sore she was after. So it's not adding up, and again, I think it's a marketing strategy. If she is just like endlessly pleasured and so happy to be there and finds this whole experience to be just great, then that is, if she's being real and honest about what that probably really actually felt like for her, I don't think that would entice her audience. They want her to be this like, endlessly orgasmic, pleasurable woman who can handle it all. And she's doing a great job of keeping that as her persona. I just don't believe it. I really don't. And like I said, I feel strange saying that because, what do I know? There's a lot I don't know. We just know what we see on the internet and what she's putting out there. But based on just human experience, the education we have, and working with a lot of people on their sex lives, this isn't adding up as being a real honest conversation. Which then
further what brings us back to what we were talking about in terms of like vulnerable populations, pornography being educational. That really concerns me for young people, young women who don't know a lot about sex or don't know a lot about pleasure, and they want to please their partners, or they want to be validated or wanted, or they maybe want to be a celebrity or whatever is going on for them. And then they look at Bonnie Blue and they're like, this is what I need to do to be loved. This is what I need to do to not be a lazy woman, to not have my partner cheat on me. And it's like, that is maybe a really concerning message to send, right? Because we don't want these girls having sex with 1,000 men in 24 hours thinking, oh, it's not going to hurt, everything's going to be great, and I shouldn't need lube. Like, there's so many messages being sent that I think could be harmful.
Yeah, for sure. And just how she is presenting herself and portraying herself is not an accurate representation of most women's experience.
Right.
What you can expect from real sex with a real woman, a real partner. Right. There are going to be limitations. You do need to consider pleasure for both partners. You do need to be careful and cautious and not cause injury or, there's a lot of problems with, I think, the messaging that is, and it, one of the videos I was watching, the woman was talking about how, like, this is capitalism at its finest, like supply and demand.
Yeah.
Right? There is a reason why she's so successful, because this is what the people want. This is what
For sure.
a certain group of men want. And maybe that's really where the concern lies, is what does that say about our society? Curious. I mean, a huge part of our audience is men. The majority of our audience is men. Would love to hear their perspective on Bonnie Blue, and if they've considered any of the maybe nuances to this woman in her work. And
there's a lot of pornography in our society, and we're not going to say that it's all bad or all good, right? It's nuance, just like anything else, but there are a lot of issues that can come with pornography, and one of them being that we keep looking for more and more and more extreme or taboo sex to get that same kind of dopamine response. And she is fulfilling that, and that's why one of the reasons I think she's maybe so popular, because she's going maybe above and beyond the standard maybe pornography that you're seeing right now.
Right. And really, she can't, I can't imagine she can outdo herself. And I would be really worried if she tried to, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can see that this was a really big conversation like a year ago.
Yeah.
And now if you see some of her recent videos and content she's posting on social media, she's sort of hinting at maybe being pregnant. And,
oh, really?
Right. And I don't think it's confirmed. I think that she has, denied actually being pregnant. But what's interesting is, like, here she is hinting at this, like, it's grabbing people's attention, making them wonder, is it one of the 1,057 men? She's even sort of implied that it happened, she got pregnant at that event. So, and I also saw that she was recently arrested. Again, I don't know if that's a hoax. I don't know. But it's like, how do we keep the conversation going? Like, what more can we add to the conversation to keep relevant, to keep interesting, to keep people having a reaction to? I mean, she's either delusional or she's very clever in her marketing and in her business. And I think it's the latter. I think she knows exactly what she's doing and saying. I think she knows exactly what's going to grab the attention and get her audience, kind of sucked in. And all of this is earning her a lot of money. She claims her family is thrilled and loves her job. I mean, to be fair, she's saying she pays everyone's bills now. Yeah. They don't have to work. I think her dad's a welder. I forget what she said her mom did, or if I don't know if she worked or otherwise, but that they are hugely supportive. She's even posted videos with a man sitting next to her. I think you hear his voice, but you don't see his face, of supposedly her dad saying how much he supports her. So, that might be true. Money does all, good or bad, it's life-changing. Yeah. I think coming into becoming enormously successful and wealthy, it is life-changing, and it has been life-changing for her family, according to her. So,
and I think even we fall into this difficulty with, a lot of people want to be sex positive. Her family might be wanting to support her because they want to be sex positive. And a lot of people feel that if they have any sort of negative opinion or concern about any sexual behavior, that means that they're judgmental, they are succumbing to the patriarchy, right? Like
prudish or something.
Right, right. Like spreading religious themes that we shouldn't be. Like, and so even I think we kind of struggle with that, of like, of course we want to be sex positive, but also we want to educate about what might be unhealthy or harmful.
Right. And be critical thinkers, right? Like, you can't just say that all sexual acts and behaviors and attitudes we should just be in support of, like, blanket statements. I think that's the problem with some of those terms, right? Yeah. So you have to approach these conversations with some critical thinking skills, some nuance. Things are rarely all or nothing, black and white. Yeah. And also sit with how you feel, right? Like, if you think about 1,000 men having sex with one woman in 12 hours, what feelings does that, bring up for you? Do you have an intuition about that? Is there something, right? Like, I think...
Because for me, it's concern. Like, genuine worry.
Yeah, it's same. Like, it's sort of like, there's a lot of discomfort that comes up for me. There's a lot of, like, worry.
Yeah.
Just for, like, the conversation at large and for the individuals involved in that situation.
Yeah.
And, you know, we need pornography that depicts a couple that's been together for 20 years. This is the porn I want to see. That's like, let us explain to you how it is. We are still having sex with each other.
Yeah.
And when it's great, when it's not, you know, we need we need representation of like real people. And that's one of the things she says is like, I don't want to just have sex with porn stars and, you know, have this unrealistic penis size representation or body image representation.
This one's for the boys. If you're worried about the size of your down there, please do not, because you've just been watching videos for years and years and years of people that do it for a living, so they tend to be above average. They've also don't really have a 9 to 5 job, so they go to the gym and they're able to prioritize on the way they look. So don't ever compare yourself to people in the industry.
Again, a message that she's putting out there, like, hey guys, if your penis does not look like the penises of the men you see in porn, don't feel bad. This is not, you know, they have all the time in the day to like go to the gym or you know, they're hired for that reason alone. Like, this is not a representation of normal men. And she wants to post videos of having sex with real men.
Maybe
that's exactly what she's done.
Yeah.
And she says it's more relatable to the average guy, which, you know what, probably is.
Yeah.
That aspect of it, I can understand that.
That's one thing
we
that I can
get
say.
behind Bonnie on this one thing.
Yeah, 100%. I'm all for like busting the myth around penis size. If that's her goal, one of her goals, the educational goal, great. I support that.
Yeah.
I'm very curious about the reaction to this video. I feel there's a high potential that we get a lot of hate.
You think so?
For sure.
You know what?
Because of the whole blanket, you have to be sex positive, and this is like one of the times where you and we're not really like, I feel like we're not really harsh about things, but I think this might be perceived as being a little harsh because we have so many concerning points here. So we'll see. I'm curious if people agree with us or if they disagree with us. We're open to feedback either way.
Yeah, let us know. Yeah, agree, disagree. Did we miss anything that is relevant in this conversation? Yeah. We do our best to try to have a level head, I think, about these discussions. You know, that's the thing is like, obviously, like I said, I've been watching so much Bonnie Blue content for days and other people reacting to her content as well. And, you know, the videos that are really popular of people talking about her, they're really strongly reacting. Lots of hate, lots of, just like thinking she's disgusting. What does this say about our society? And you know what? Again, that gets you clicks. That gets you. If you're still listening to our video at this point, wow. I think that says something about who you are. You're probably quite a critical thinker, a nuanced thinker. Maybe you appreciate people that are willing to like explore in a way like, we're not trying to do the whole the rage bait thing. We're angry, get angry with us. She's horrible. Like
we
that's
don't think
not
she's
us.
Disgusting. No, we're worried about her. Genuinely.
I mean, worried about her. I also think she's smart. Like, I mean, worried about her, but I also think she's clever. I think she knows exactly what she's doing. I think she's smart. I mean, when you watch her eyes. Okay, I'm probably overthinking it now. All right, and I'm really speculating. Watch her eyes. She's kind of like deadpan. It's like there's like, what's going on behind that face? Those eyes. Like when she's talking about how much she loves the work that she does and how much fun it was and how I'm like, I don't see it authentically. Like there's I don't know if it's in there. So, you know, again, like I said, I don't really believe her, and that's my personal opinion. But yeah, if you're still listening,
Thanks.
Please leave us a comment. Give us a like. Thank you. Let us know you're still here, because I don't know if I would have still been listening at this point. It's just yammering away. We love you. Thank you for watching. Thanks for hanging out with us. Let us know what you think about Bonking Bonnie Blue. And we'll see you in our next video.